So this fundraising event, organised by Share the World's Resources, a campaign organisation based in the heart of Islington. One of their main goals is to raise awareness of a very important document called Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its importance in our society today, where homelessness, hunger, poverty are increasingly pervasive and continuing to increase, and where declining social and medical services are having detrimental impact on individuals and families. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm a huge fan of Charles Dickens, as Jeremy knows. And I remember the first time I read A Christmas Carol. This boy is ignorance, this girl is want. Beware them both, but most of all beware this boy, because on his forehead lies that of which is impending doom. Well, ignorance and want are still present in the 21st century Britain. It is absolutely disgraceful that the sixth richest nation in the world has homelessness, people lying in the street, people relying on food banks, working people that are relying on a number of various issues to get by on week to week. It is absolutely disgraceful that children are going hunger and where people have to decide whether they have to eat or eat. What is the choice? There is no difference now in 21st century Britain to those very words that Charles Dickens wrote about in 1843. 47% of children in Ireland live in poverty, according to the Trust for London charity. Not unique, as I said before. Food banks are rife on the rise and are now frequently used, not as just a matter of how to get back for a tough month, but now on a regular weekly basis. We've often heard the saying that we are only one paycheck away from becoming homeless and 6 weeks away from actually not having enough to pay the bills and getting eviction notices. Even before the pandemic crisis, 78,930 households were in temporary accommodation. Just think about that, 78,390 were in temporary accommodation in 2021. And 120,000 children are expected within their families in temporary accommodations. The numbers are getting much higher. We need to do something, we need to do something now. Silence is no longer, rich tea and sympathy is no longer a way forward. Kind wishes are not the best way, are not going to pay these bills. It is ultimate action. It is the action that you are doing here today, that Jeremy does on a day-by-day basis, that myself and other councillors do, but we need to actually take action, and action speaks louder than words. So please, with all the wonderful work that the local artists have done here today, we need to raise that £11,000. We need to get out, we need to get the message, we need to sing it, amplify it day by day, and highlight the change that we need. Because if we are to see a new tomorrow, we must start making that change ourselves. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
Because when he was elected mayor, his first thing was to say, "I thank the people of Islington and the people of Donegal." But he's now telling tall stories because he claims he's been 2 weeks in Donegal, and 1 week it rained. I don't believe a word of it. And the second week it was very hot sunshine and he got sunburned. I don't believe that either. But Troy is a fantastic tribute to this borough. And in his inaugural speech, he made a point about mental health and about stress within our society. Not just because of COVID, it's there anyway and got worse because of COVID. And the campaign that you're waging about Article 25 of the Universal Declaration is so important. I often quote the Universal Declaration and the right of people to be able to live in decency. And I was quite shocked when Professor Philip Alstrom was appointed by the UN to study poverty and misery in Britain. And he toured the whole country and produced a very comprehensive report which said we had a social security system that was cruel, that was oppressive, and we had an uncaring approach on healthcare and social care. And he is absolutely right. And so when you're campaigning for Article 25, which is the right to housing, the right to education, the right to healthcare, the right to be able to eat. They're pretty fundamental measures. And so in this country, we have now developed a whole science of shortages. Troy and I are experts on the science of shortages in housing. We could talk forever about the way in which the point system allocates this, allocates that, doesn't allocate. I don't want to be an expert in the science of shortages of housing. I want to be an expert in providing housing for people. And our health service has been sliced apart by privatisation, by handing out contracts, by giving away whole swathes of the service, and we now have the insult of private medical companies taking our NHS to court because they didn't get a contract of some sort. That's just robbery of the public money that should go on healthcare. We have a care system that doesn't work because it is largely in private hands. It has to be a public provision of healthcare and of primary care itself. And so I want to live in a world where there is universal education, universal healthcare, and that everybody gets something to eat. There isn't a food shortage in the world, there's a maldistribution of food in the world. There isn't a food shortage in this country. There's in fact a great waste of food in this country at the same time as others are going hungry. But it's not just about us in this country, rich as this country is. It is a global phenomenon. The Universal Declaration, 1948, was an amazing document. Eleanor Roosevelt had quite a big part in the drafting of it because she had been through the Second World War, she'd been through the Depression in the 1930s in the USA, and she had an understanding of the economics that led people into poverty, but she also had a global understanding of different cultural values, and that's what the Universal Declaration tries to recognise. And so I would have thought the corona crisis has shown us that it's the poorest people in the poorest places that suffer the most, that have the shortest lives, that die first from wholly preventable conditions. So when the World Health Organization calls for universal health care or whatever, that's what we should be providing. What's the response? Increase arms expenditure by £24 billion. That is not going to save any child or cure any illness. It's only going to make the world a more dangerous place. And so your work in putting the slogan of share the world's resources up everywhere is very important. I'm looking forward to seeing it on the back of every bus. So when I'm cycling around, I can read it. So when I'm cycling up behind the bus and I see it there, I'll know this evening was not in vain. So we need to raise money for that. But I just want to say thank you for what you do, for the work that you do. And next month, or month after, the COP26 is going to be held in Glasgow. I hope it comes up with a step change. I hope it isn't just a lot of greenwash, and I hope there is a fundamental change. But the environment isn't just about recycling and reusing and about traffic reduction and so on. It is all of that, but it's also about the natural world in which we need to live. We cannot live forever exploiting nature that is there for all of us to sustain and enjoy. And so it is an attitude of mind about the natural world that we've got to live with. And that comes if you have a mindset which is not based on greed and self-advancement, but is actually based on the care needs of everybody and of our natural world and our planet. So artists tell us truths that other people don't want to, which is why I passionately put forward in the 2 election campaigns where I put forward a manifesto was on music, art, dance and theatre, to expand young people's minds, attitudes and opportunities, and that way we'll get a much better world. Thank you very much.